Hello and welcome to the show. This is Everything Under the Sun. My name's Ty. Hope all of you have been doing very, very well this past week and taking care of yourselves the best way that you know how to, and enjoying your life in the most full way that you know how to, and that you can in each and every moment. It's like this life is so precious, and it's really not something that is guaranteed moment to moment. So enjoy the moment that you're in as much as you can, and heal the wounds that seem to be keeping you from that as much as you can as well, by breathing and bringing yourself to that place of peace that you know you can have while still embracing those things that are heavy. Now, this episode, I want to be kind of brief, but I want this to kind of be a reminder about manifestation. There's so many things that we wish to manifest in our lives, and as we embark on the spiritual path, first we recognize that there is more, that there's something more to this life. But a lot of times as we dive into that, like the aspect of manifestation is one of the biggest things. We want to manifest money and cars and nice things and new jobs and more knowledge and more understanding. We want to manifest these things in our lives, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's really recognizing that which manifests, and you are that which manifests. In the episode about the family, I speak about this allness that we are, this wholeness that we are, and it's important to recognize that we are manifestation. And therefore, that's why manifestation is something that is always happening. It's always constant. It's always happening. You are always, always, always manifesting. And even through the human perspective that we live our lives through, that we live this life through, we wish to manifest things. And it's important to also realize that there are things that we are manifesting constantly right now in time and space. And that is something so important to remember, because as we recognize our manifestations and the things that we're bringing to ourselves right now, we can start to realize just how powerful we are, how whole we are. You can start to conceptualize this idea where it's like, wow, I was really able to think about something in this ethereal, non-tangible space, and I was able to manifest it in this reality. Claim your manifestations. And there are things that we manifest that may seem unintentional, like, there's a mosquito around my studio right now and it's just biting me up, but I have this kind of angst towards mosquitoes. They make these huge welts in my body. But so yeah, I have this like angst against mosquitoes, and I recognize that it's something that takes me out of that calm, out of that peace. Like when I see a mosquito, it's like instant attack mode. So I recognize that is something that will continue to manifest that in my life until I recognize that I can have peace. I can enjoy myself. I cannot be bothered so much that I move outside of that place of peace. Now, I can still slap the mosquito that's on my neck, but I don't have to get upset about it or hyper vigilant and looking around for more mosquitoes. So, there are things that we manifest, and that's just a small example, but there are things that we manifest that may not be the most pleasant. And it's not for us to judge them, but to recognize, how did I bring about this manifestation? How did this manifestation come about? Is it a deep-rooted fear that I've had? Is it something that I've been holding on to, a judgment that I've been holding on to? Is this something that's come about due to a belief that I've held so strongly for so long? And as we recognize where it stems from, even just guess with yourself, because if you're guessing with yourself about an experience that you are having, you are likely going to be very, very close to being right about that guess. So I encourage you to guess with yourself. If you're like, I have no idea how this came about, go within yourself, breathe, close your eyes, clear your mind, and ask yourself that question. This manifestation that I find to be so unpleasing or uncomfortable for me, how did it come about? How did I come to manifest this in my life? And claiming every single manifestation, even the ones that seem unpleasant, help to bring back that power that we are. Because if we believe that something else manifested these terrible circumstances for us, then we're going to continue fighting with those external things. We're going to be looking at those external things and blaming them for the feeling that we are having within ourselves, by the experience that we are experiencing in our lives, the manifestations that are coming about in our experience. We have to take ownership of them. And even if someone, again, I've used this example before, even if someone breaks into your house and takes all of your things, maybe that was something that you feared at one point. That was something that you worried about. You had all these material things that you were worried about losing. And maybe you recognize that was a thought that you've had. And in that moment, that aggravation wants to start creeping in, you can recognize that, I don't have to choose this again. I don't have to choose aggravation anymore. I don't have to choose worry anymore. I don't have to choose anger anymore. I don't have to choose that anymore. Right now, that this manifestation, this reflection of that which I believed, that which I feared, is now presenting itself to me, right in front of me. Now that it's showing its face to me, I can choose something different. I can choose kindness. I can choose love. I can choose peace. I can choose courage to move through it. There are all these variations of things that are empowering, that we can help to heal these wounds, change our beliefs, change these structures and habits that we've held on to that don't serve us anymore. And it's all up to you. But we have to take that power back. We have to recognize that every single thing that manifests in this experience is something that is meant to teach us. Teach us that this is a belief that we've held on to. This is a fear that we've held on to. And if we wish to move forward in the strength that we are, believing with our heart that the truth of our minds and the vision of our heart is true, then we can move through that obstacle. And maybe everything won't appear back in your place that got stolen instantly. Okay, so the situation may not change. I've said this again. It's about the experience that you feel within. And when you feel that experience within, it will reflect itself outside. And know that some of these beliefs have been long held. And it doesn't mean that it requires that much time for them to heal, but it may require some time because there are more layers to that than you believe. When you question yourself of what could I have done to create this manifestation? How could this manifestation have come about? When you question yourself and you ask that question and you respond with a theory, an idea, something that comes from within, that is just one layer of that belief. Know that there are multiple layers that need to be dissolved and eliminated before that manifestation can be reflected outside. Because again, in order for that manifestation to have arrived in the first place, layers upon layers upon layers of ideas and thoughts that have been structured into beliefs have come about over the years to make it presentable. Now it's time to break those down. And sometimes radical breakthroughs can happen. That's why we call them breakthroughs. They come through and they eliminate so many walls that we've had up. And it doesn't mean it eliminates all of them. It can. But it really breaks down so many of them, and then it makes it so much easier. And as we recognize that, I have courage, I've been through a very difficult time in my life, and I recognize that I can still choose peace, I can still choose happiness. So in the next time that distress or chaos seems to appear in our lives, we can look back at that moment and recognize that feeling and say, you know what, I can still choose that. And even if you're not sure if you can still choose it, ask yourself, it's like, I wonder if I can choose happiness, I can choose peace, I can choose to keep my joy despite whatever occurs in my life. And then in that statement, in that question, in that desire to really see how far you can go with having your peace, with recognizing your truth and standing firm in that, when that thought to do that comes within your mind, the thought to really embrace that idea and really take forth whatever comes forward and see if you can hold that peace and hold that strength, then you will look forward to the situations that arise, or you will not be fazed as much as the situations that start to arise in your life, because it's starting to come forth because you've decided to step forth on that path. You've decided to say, I want to hold this peace despite whatever arises. So things that you've been holding on to may start to arise in your life, and as they arise, you choose that peace. And again, it can be as small as mosquitoes or traffic or just an aggravating coworker, whatever that may be. It may start small, but recognize that you have the ability to choose for yourself the experience that you want to have. And now on the other end of this manifestation, you are manifesting incredible things for yourself in your life. Beautiful, beautiful things for yourself. And they may seem small in comparison to how much our mind focuses on the not so good manifestations as we would judge it. But recognize the incredible manifestations that you're bringing about in your life. Whether that's a family that's loving, whether that's a roof over your head, whether that's a smile from a stranger because you've been feeling like you're isolated and that you're alone, and then somehow you manifest a hug or a call from a friend. Recognize that when these joys and happiness and peace moments, these joyful moments encapsulate our lives for however duration, recognize that you are manifesting that. When you see a beautiful landscape or a beautiful scenery or a beautiful sunset, know that you are manifesting that experience for yourself. You're the one that's recognizing that it's beautiful. You're the one that's witnessing and beholding its beauty and allowing that to bring you peace. As we look at each and every one of these manifestations, this life is a manifestation. Everything that surrounds you in the space that you're in right now is something that you've brought to yourself in your life. And that's incredible. Sometimes it's pretty instant. You look on Amazon, you're like, I want that, and you buy it, and it gets to you within 3 days. Happy manifestation. You did it. That's great. You want to manifest more money in your life, and you say, I'd really like to have a raise, but you're not attached to it, because the attachments means that there's more layers to it. Maybe you're okay with how much you get paid, but a raise wouldn't be bad. And then like maybe a month or two pass and you get a $2 raise, and you're like, wow, I manifested this. And you can look back to the root of that manifestation if you'd like to see how you've been doing it, to see how you've been manifesting things all the time. You can look back to the origin of it, and that does help you to realize. It just helps to fixate within the mind that I am the one manifesting this. But we don't always have to look back at how these manifestations came about. We can just continue to move forward knowing that in my joy, in my happiness, in my peace, in my strength, in my knowing that I am powerful to manifest anything that I desire, I'm going to continue moving forth. And whatever seeming obstacles arise, I know that they are not true. And the experience that I wish to have, the experience that I will be having, the experience that I'm having right now is of joy, is of peace, of knowing my power, knowing my abundance. Despite the wallet being empty, I know my abundance, and I'm moving forth in that knowing. And as you start to maybe find a crumpled up dollar bill or even like a penny or so, right as you have that thought, I am abundant, and you look down and you see a penny on the road, know that you are abundant. And you can wish to pick it up because you're like, I embrace my abundance. I'm taking this abundance. You're not too good for having a penny or picking up a penny. If you wish to claim your abundance, then claim that abundance. And if you wish to claim your abundance and look at that penny and say, this is just a sign of my abundance, and I wish to leave that there for someone else's abundance because they are also abundant, then you can do that too, and you can keep on walking. But do not reject the penny on the floor after you just immediately ask for abundance. The change that's in your couch that seems to stumble out, or the pocket that seems to have like a couple dollars that you completely forgot about. It may not be something very significant or that you see as significant, but recognize that I just asked for abundance. I just embraced my abundance. I just stood firm in my abundance, and now these things are starting to arise in my life. And they may seem small right now, but they're just signs of the abundance that I am and how it's always coming to me in all different ways. So recognize that we can realize how incredible we are at manifesting, how we are always manifesting. And in that, we can hold firm in our power, in our truth, in our belief, the heart's belief, that we can move forward in this life and not have to worry about things being provided to us, because we are manifestations. We are all things. And in that, we have all things. If you can imagine something, and this has been done time and time again, like there have been books written about it. There have been people that are iconic, so to speak, that people look up to, that have spoken about this ad nauseum, and they don't even have to be in the spiritual realm of things when they're speaking about things. But they recognize this truth of manifestation. They say, imagine something, write it down, create a vision board, all these different methodologies for really enforcing that vision within the mind. And when the vision is so real within the mind, the manifestation begins to appear within life. Okay, this is something that's known, but when you really think about it, you're like, wow, again, this idea, this non-tangible thing within my mind, I was able to manifest it in this world. That is incredible. And when you realize that you can imagine anything, and if you can imagine anything and manifest that in your life, then doesn't that mean you already have everything? Because again, in this idea of manifestation, everyone will speak about, again, write down those manifestations, believe in that manifestation, and feel it as if it is real right now. And that's really the key, because when you feel that you have it right this moment, then that kind of speeds up the process. That helps the mind to really organize in this idea that, I have this already. You feel the feelings already. You can embrace and step into that in this material reality as it starts to come forth. But we can't do that if we don't have an idea of what that looks like or what that feels like. So again, if we recognize that we can think about something, visualize something, feel it as being real right this moment, and it actually becomes real in this material experience that we have, then know that you already have everything. You have all of the abundance, you have all of the joy, you have all of the peace, you have all of it now as you envision it for yourself. And all these other manifestations may have arrived from past beliefs, but you don't have to let them grasp your attention anymore. Just because it's the reflection right in front of you does not mean that you have to believe that reflection. It's a distorted mirror. It is not showing you the truth of who you are in your heart's belief. Look at the clarity within your heart and not in that mirror. Don't reject it. Embrace it and know that that is something that you've manifested, but no longer believe. I don't believe in that distortion anymore. I'm not holding on to that distortion anymore. That distorted image of the weakness and the victimization that I've been feeling, that's not something that defines me anymore. And even though it seems to be presenting itself in my life in some way or another, it does not define me, and I will move forward in my truth. This entire process of moving towards spirituality or moving towards just greater happiness and joy for ourselves and our lives is first recognizing our strength and our ability to do so. You must recognize this before anything can occur, before any happiness, before any joy, before any peace, before any of these true manifestations of your heart desires can occur. You have to know that you can do it. You have to believe that you can do it. Actually, more than belief, you have to know. You have to know that you can do it. Because knowing is a step further than believing. Belief only gets you so far, but it's a great start. But when you bring that believing into knowing, then that is when power is truly yours, and you know it from within your heart. And you can move in this life, move through these shadows, move through these distortions, and know that you will not be fazed, you will not be touched, and you can move forward in your truth. So that's all I really have for this episode. It's really, I recognize these manifestations, these things that arise in my experience, that it's like, wow, I remember desiring that. I remember being fearful of that. I remember holding on to that idea. And it makes me realize that there is so much power that we have in our lives that we haven't fully embraced within ourselves, that we haven't really grasped onto. And this is something I'm still working towards, but I recognize the strength of the firmness of my step, of how knowing I am in the motion, in the certainty of the path that's being brought about before me. And it doesn't mean I know what is to come in the future. It doesn't mean that I know what even the next moment will bring. But I know within my heart that the truth that is there, the truth that dwells there, is the truth that will come forth. And I don't have to pay attention. I don't have to hold on to these shadows that seem to appear. Do this in your life and recognize the power that you have. Recognize the peace that you can attain, and recognize the joy that you are. And recognize the love that is always, always present. So again, that's all I have. If you have any thoughts or ideas or anything that you'd like to share, you can send us to everything.sunpodcast@gmail.com. You can join any of the social media groups: Instagram, everything.sunpodcast, Twitter, @everysunpodcast, the Facebook group, @everysunpodcast as well, and the YouTube page, Everything Under the Sun Podcast. And that's all I got. I love you all so, so much, and I will talk to you soon.